Hello and welcome back to the daily study of the Way of Mastery. Today we continue with Lesson 2, You Create Your Experience, Section 4, Mastery Arises from Innocence. And we're going to look at paragraphs 1, 2, and 3. And Jeshua says, in these lessons, we will create a system or a pathway upon which you can walk to deliberately cultivate the quality of awareness and consciousness necessary to stabilize that awareness so that you can bring it to each and every moment of your experience. So I love that. We're learning a system. This is like a mental training system. I mean, that's what A Course in Miracles is, and this is the same teaching. So it's a system for deliberate cultivation of the quality of awareness, of consciousness, of Christ consciousness, of love consciousness. And Jeshua says, imagine then being able to experience whatever arises without losing the sense of spaciousness, innocence, and ease that you now experience in fleeting moments. For instance, know you the experience when things are going well, you are singing a happy tune and life seems to be moving ahead. Imagine that same quality of trust, faith, and certainty of purpose, even when the buildings are crumbling around you and the bank account has gone dry. Imagine being able to look at those events with the same sense of innocence and wonder with which you would look into the eyes of your beloved. Now, I've had this book and I've studied it for years now, and that sentence is highlighted, underlined, and I've written yes in the margin a couple times. So imagine then, Jeshua says, to experience, no matter what's happening around you, never losing that sense of innocence and wonder and ease and joy, because you are so just in the knowing of the divine as all things and the perfection of the divine, and you as one with this. And that I love how he says, and life seems to be moving forward. It seems to, because it's not really going anywhere. We're not really moving forward. It just seems like we are. And he says, imagine that quality of trust and faith and certainty of purpose when the buildings are crumbling around you, when the bank account has gone dry, when things seem hopeless. I mean, look at the state of the world the last several years. It can easily have this feeling of hopelessness, that things are getting worse. And Jeshua is saying, no matter what is happening out in the world, when things seem to be crumbling, imagine having this sense of complete faith and complete trust and complete connectedness. To look at all of those events with the same sense of innocence and wonder that you would look into the eyes of the one you love. Imagine that. The things that you deem not okay with the world right now. Can you imagine looking at those and seeing those with innocence and wonder? Whether it's the pandemic, whether it's the global economic, the food shortages, the gun control, and the murders that are happening, right? Like, to our mind, this seems insane. And Jeshua is offering us, like cracking the door open to be like, well, what if? Like, imagine that. Can you imagine it? And in the next paragraph, he says, for such a quality of awareness is perfect mastery. Within it are discovered perfect peace, perfect freedom, perfect joy, and uninterrupted communion with all of creation. And if you would well receive it, that quality of feeling intimately one with all of creation is what you have been seeking as a soul since first the identification with the creation called ego began. For that creation created conflict and separation. Everything you have ever attempted to do since has been an attempt to overcome separation and to gain back what you felt you had lost. It is just that the ways you have sought to do it do not work. Love this. So Jeshua is basically saying what you're trying, what you're doing doesn't work. Give up your ways and follow the way that I'm teaching you. And he says this is perfect mastery, to be able to stand in the face of things crumbling around you and be in love, be in trust, be in faith and the certainty of purpose. In each moment, that is perfect mastery. Perfect peace, perfect freedom, perfect joy, and uninterrupted communion with all of creation. Again, this theme of communion. What you create communicates. And he says, and what if you would well receive it, that quality of feeling intimately one with all of creation? How often do you feel one with all of creation? Maybe in nature, maybe if you slow down and you're in nature. And he talks about the ego, that the ego is this belief in separation. He says, you've been seeking this intimate feeling of oneness with creation. That's what you've been seeking as a soul since you first identified with the creation called the ego, which is just the belief in separation, that somehow you did the impossible, the tiny mad idea. You separated from the all that is. That's insane when you think about it. It's like a drop of water saying, being in the ocean, saying, I'm not one with the ocean. I'm my own separate thing. So the moment that we identify, it's not that that thought is a bad thought, the thought of separation, the ego. It's not a bad thing. It's just we bought into it. We identified it as what we are. And that creates conflict and separation, Jeshua says. And he says, everything you've ever attempted to do since you identified with the ego has been an attempt to overcome the separation and to gain back what you felt you lost. And in truth, Jeshua says over and over and over again, you cannot lose. There is no such thing in truth as loss. In this human experience, in this 3D world of separation, you can lose. But he's inviting us into higher consciousness where there is no such thing as loss. So it's so funny. We identify with the ego, the belief in separation, and then we attempt to overcome that separation and gain back what we think we lost. So it's like we create this idea of separation and then we try to fix it instead of realizing that the creation in the first place is in error. It's just not true. It's not true that we're separate. And that's what Jeshua is saying. It's just that the ways that you've sought to overcome separation, they don't work. But this system works. This love works. So just this little section here is inviting us to imagine, like everything starts with believing in imagination. And if you can see it, it's available to you. Can you imagine being in this deep faith, trust, love, perfect peace, perfect joy, at one with all of life in the midst of the buildings crumbling around you or the empty bank account, having so much faith and love and connection that it doesn't matter what the bank account says. You know you are supported. You know you'll be taken care of because life supports life. This is a great little section, and I'm really excited to keep going in these next couple days on what's to come. Thanks for listening. If you get value, like, subscribe, share, leave us a comment, send us an email, hello@revelationbreathwork.com. And I love you guys. We'll see you next time. Hey, before you go, remember how Jeshua allowed the crucifixion as a final test of faith and love and a demonstration that death is unreal? Well, we're not asking you to endure anything nearly that tough, just to brave Facebook. Join our Living the Way of Mastery Facebook group to connect, dive deeper into the teachings, and get your questions answered. It only takes a few minutes. Go to facebook.com/groups/living the way of mastery. See you there.